Keeping in the spirit of the graduation address here for the department, I should first say something about the field of industrial engineering. For the family and friends, how many of you can define exactly what is industrial engineering? About the graduates? Faculty? Well, Chris Billings, who was the former director of industrial engineering at Walt Disney World, defined IE as an analytical approach to problem solving that seeks to integrate human, system, information, and technology resources in developing solutions that are balanced between operational, financial, customer service, and employee considerations. It's pretty impressive, but I kind of just prefer we try to make things better. Now, I'd like to borrow, parody, and adapt portions of a fantasized graduation address that was written by Chicago Tribune journalist Mary Smith that was, as a hoax, credited to one of my favorite authors and cynical curmudgeon, Kurt Vonnegut. I'll mix and fold in some advice and sayings from both of my fathers. That is, my actual father, Dr. Maxwell C. King, who, through hard work, perseverance, rose from being a dirt poor, shoeless, fatherless boy to become one of the youngest and eventually longest tenured college presidents ever, and who has spent most of his 85 plus years trying to do as much good in this world as he can. And to my academic father, longtime teacher, friend, mentor, colleague, Dr. Tom Hudson, I'll point out what both of these men share is that they're very, very optimistic, and they always see the best in people. And I think that's pretty incredible. Finally, I'll sprinkle in some thoughts of my own, as unoriginal as they might be. So with apologies to those mentioned, here we go. Listen. Do a martial art. If I could offer you one tip for the future, it would be the martial arts. You're never too old or too out of shape to start. The long-term physical, mental, spiritual benefits of the martial arts have been proven by scientists, whereas the rest of the advice you're about to hear has no basis for being reliable other than my own meandering experience. Don't worry about the future, or worry, but know that worrying is about as effective as trying to code the QR model for Hudson using VBA. The real troubles in your life are apt to do things that never crossed your mind, the kind that blindside you at 4 p.m. on some random Tuesday. Your life is a system. Don't be afraid to apply your degree and the objectivity that your degree brings to your own life. Don't be reckless with people's hearts, and don't put up with people who are reckless with yours. Floss. Be faithful to your friends. Use good judgment before killing living things. Don't waste your time on jealousy. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind, but in the long run, the race is really only with yourself. Don't waste too much time crying or moaning about your life. Human beings are incredibly resilient, and your capacity to overcome your travails is far greater than you think. Don't put your life on hold waiting on some event to occur. Time is precious and never comes back to you. Freely give compliments, and remember the compliments you receive. Perception is reality to many. Be aware of this and be careful not to fall into the same trap yourself. Be in awe and never forget those who have made great sacrifice for those they loved and for those they never even knew. Don't waste your time searching for an optimal solution. There's no such thing unless you assume away reality. Don't watch too much TV. It only makes you feel that you're ugly and that your life is boring. Get to know your parents. You'll never know when they'll be gone for good. Be nice to your siblings. They're your best link to your past and the people most likely to stick with you in the future. Understand that friends come and go, but with a precious few, you should hold on. Work hard to bridge the gaps in geography and lifestyle, because the older you get, the more you need people who knew you when you were young and understand the past that you ramble on about. Travel. You'll be amazed to find out how most people in this world share the same hopes and fears. Accept certain inalienable truths. Prices will rise, politicians will be corrupt and lie to you and find new reasons and ways to tax you. You too will get old. And when you do, you'll fantasize that when you were young, prices were reasonable, politicians were noble, and children respected their elders. People are Markovian. They tend to be ignorant of history. Don't be so arrogant as to think that your problems or the problems of your time are unique. To see the future, you need only study the past. History is like that favorite song that you think was written just about you. Our ancestors may have dressed funny, didn't have iPhones or post anything on Twitter, but the foibles and failures of humanity are doomed to be repeated, kind of like this speech, as long as history is forgotten. Be careful with advice you don't pay for. Be patient with friends, relatives, and especially professors who freely dispense it. In closing, I'd like to tell you about the opportunity I had to climb Mount Rainier with my brother Max back in 1996. Max, who's 5 years older than me, became my best friend once I got bigger than him and he knew I could take him. On Rainier, Max and I befriended a guy named Ephraim. All the way up the mountain, Ephraim talked about how climbing Rainier was this lifelong dream of his. But during the climb, Ephraim was struggling with fatigue and altitude sickness, and at one point he managed to fall halfway through an ice bridge, and as he kind of caught himself and his feet dangling over just the sky, he said rather dejectedly, "Be careful what you wish for, boys." After summiting, Max and I stood together on a beautiful cloudless morning. Looking south, we could see Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, Mount Jefferson down in Oregon. It was one of the greatest feelings of my life. But as I found myself looking down Rainier at the Cowlitz and Ingraham glaciers that we had come up earlier in the dark, I found myself looking at the blue crevasses that were opening up and the sheer drop-offs. So our elation quickly changed to the somber reality that we still had to get off that mountain on a day when the heat was coming up and the ice and snow were starting to release rocks and such. Going down was clearly going to be more challenging. All we could do was tighten our crampons, rope up, and head on. So today you reach a summit of sorts. You're about to go into the real world, whatever that is. You've accomplished a lot in your years here, whether you recognize it or not. Hopefully you sense the accomplishment and the opportunity as well as the uncertainty that's in front of you. Time to rope up and head on. Finally, you'll undoubtedly forget everything I've just said within 15 minutes, but trust me on the martial arts.